What up? Long time no see, or long time you no see me. 11 years it's been since I put my face on the internet with a picture or a video. Yeah, I was talking a big game about, love your body, body positivity. Turns out I'm actually the biggest pussy in the history of the world. So, yeah, it was tough. The scrutiny of being a supposed health expert on the internet and having my health deteriorate. I decided to just go for the exit instead, and people were always ripping on me. All kinds of things posted about my zoom in on my belly when I was like 10 pounds overweight. So that traumatized me, and I did not take that well. Like I said, biggest pussy in the history of the world. And it was just, I couldn't bear to take it. But 11 years has gone by, and I've gone through the worst of it. I spent a long time just absolutely miserable and being stuck in one place. That's not really me. I've always traveled a lot. My dad was in the aviation industry. He was a pilot, had his own airline for a while, which I used to just hop on planes and go places. And I just got stuck in one spot for 12 years, and I was miserable. So this is the face you see now. This is Matt on 12 years of hanging out indoors watching Netflix. So if you're just wondering what doing that would do to a human, look no further. If you did miss my face, the good news is that now there's more of it to love. So anyway, basically the story you guys know. 11 years ago, I had just finished doing that experiment, typical dumb blogger experiment, where I gained weight intentionally over a 3-month period. Put on 35 pounds intentionally as kind of an experiment to see how I could lose it without lowering my metabolism, starving myself, or creating some kind of intentional calorie deficit. And when that didn't resolve itself easily, I saw the writing on the wall, and I didn't want to continue trying to be a fat health guru. So I gave up, and I put just everything into my work. I started 180 Radio, Bug Books, and me and Robbie Archangel worked on starting Archangel Inc. together, and decided to do all those at one time in May of 2014. I was just like, I had no life. I didn't like where I was, and I literally just worked all the time. There were days where I was like, oops, sun's up, better go to bed. That was like 2 or 3 days a week that was happening. I had complete and utter disregard for my health in every way, because as you guys know, I started out naively thinking that there was some perfect diet out there, and I was going to discover it and share it with the masses and heal the sick or whatever. I don't know, the blogger Jesus or whatever I was aiming for. So I don't know, guys, but you know how it is. And I was definitely naive. I was hopeful. I was well-intentioned. I studied my ass off, and I think you guys know I'm a fairly clear thinker, and someone called me an original thinker the other day. I kind of like the sound of that. But I just kind of gave up on it, and put everything in my work. And what do you guys think happened when I put all that, but started pulling all-nighters all the time on the computer? Well, that's no surprise. I didn't start to become a health blogger because I had this super resilient health. I started it because I have fairly fragile health, and I've always had a lot of health struggles, and always sought to, lifestyle and nutrition changes and stuff like that to try to figure out how to solve this, because doctors made me sicker and they just had, pills and potions for me and no real solution. So took it upon myself, and of course, when I took this very sensitive body with a history of health problems and subjected it to frequent all-nighters, working in front of the computer 12 or 13 hours a day, I just started having major problems. Started having like left arm pain that was really scary. Started getting dizzy all the time. And one day I stayed up all night and then slept until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, went out in the Florida heat on a jog, and then went and lifted weights a little bit, and then cruised over to the Outback Steakhouse at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon for breakfast, and promptly passed the fuck out and was dragged out of there and put into the back of an ambulance. And that kind of started on this long journey of feeling like shit and having to do nothing to recover. And then the moment I recovered, I was like, oh man, I gotta work, I gotta, exercise, I gotta do something. And then I would, promptly go out and overdo it. You guys know me, I'm not a half-ass kind of person that just kind of tiptoes into things. I went completely obsession mode, and I would overdo it, screw myself up again, and it was just 1 step forward and 2 steps back, repeated again and again and again, until I kind of really bottomed out at like 2016. My health sucked, and I just felt like I couldn't do anything, so I just sat around and watched TV all day, and that made me feel better in the short term. But eventually I figured out that what made me feel better in the short term made me worse and more sensitive. What made me feel worse in the short term was actually what I needed. I just needed the right dose so that I didn't have a bunch of shoulder pain and start freaking out and being scared that I was gonna have a heart attack and die or something. So anyway, this went on for years. It took me years to start to figure it out. It was only recently, like 2020, that I feel like I really kind of got it. So I know that I'm still super swollen. My health isn't great. This is my second take of this video because I tried walking before and I got too winded. I was like, all right, I gotta sit down. But I've actually lost over 40 pounds now, and I've got my ability to work back. At one point I couldn't even read. I couldn't do any kind of mental concentration, no physical exertion, just any kind of exertion whatsoever. I was super sensitive to that. Yet, of course, I had the strong desire to do it. I mean, I felt like I was just stuck in a body and a brain that just couldn't do anything. So anyway, I've learned to be patient. I've learned that slow, steady, one day at a time type of progress. And, that seems to be the ticket. And I've been losing pretty steadily about 2 pounds a month for about 2 years. So, and that's not with effort. I'm not counting calories. I'm not hungry. It's just kind of coming off. Seems to come off best when I keep my vitamin A really low. I start like passing a bunch of bile, just like Dr. G talks about, and that's legit for sure. But when I start dumping vitamin A out of my system from not eating it in my diet, it takes about a week to kick in of being really strict. And then, I just start passing bile, losing a little bit of weight, passing bile, losing a little bit of weight. And I seem to get healthier with every step, and slowly working on my fitness as well, trying to get that back. It's just incredibly hard. I used to be near like Olympian level. I almost tried out for the Olympic team in mogul skiing. I was a wilderness ranger for the Forest Service, like one of the most physically demanding jobs in the entire world. Used to do 100 100 plus mile bike rides and things like that. So I mean, it was super difficult to start out like walking around the block and build it up one step at a time. But anyway, I'm making progress. So anyway, say what you want about where I'm at. You know, this is not the result of me following my own advice. It's not like I followed this advice to the letter. Nowhere did I recommend pulling all-nighters, fucking up your adrenals, laying around watching Netflix, staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning every day, which I have for like the last 8 years, 10 years. I mean, nothing, but that was kind of what miserable people do who feel like ass and don't really know what to do, are trapped where they live and have no ability to escape. So anyway, it was time to face the music and put my face back on the internet and my voice, and here I am, and I'm starting to do some traveling and get out. I just took my first flight with my now wife, Andrea. We've been together for 12 and a half years, never even flown on a plane together. That feels shameful as the son of a pilot and aviator to go 12 and a half years without ever even taking a flight. That's how stuck I was, where I was at. And anyway, I'm in Central Park and recording this, and more adventures to come. And I hope to get into some really interesting stuff. Obviously, I don't want to talk about health all the time. My goal is not to return and become a health guru at all. But I feel like we live in a really interesting time, and I've got a lot to share about it, because I don't know. See, it's really hard to walk that line today. How do you walk that line between, being a sheep who, follows whatever kind of nonsense that is being put on us by big corporations, media, government? We can't just blindly swallow that. But then there's so many people who seek out alternative information, and they're overly willing to accept any kind of information or theory that they come across, and end up believing in just completely fantastical, outrageous nonsense. We're obviously, everyone here is a kind of a natural contrarian and has respect for alternative sources of information. They feel empowered to seek out the truth and research things on their own. But how do you go down that sort of skeptical train? How do you get on the skeptical train, and how do you know when you get off of that train? I think that's going to be kind of a recurring theme that we can talk, that I'm really excited about. And anyway, hopefully this video turns out okay. My very first, and I'll do some fun walking tours and kind of just take you with me everywhere I go, and we'll have some fun together and hopefully have some really great discussions. So anyway, look forward to always chatting with you guys in the comments, and don't be too mean. I've been through a lot, and I'm actually in a better spot now than I was a few years ago. So yeah, all right, that's it. Signing off. Peace.